Rory, we're here at ISE 2025 on the Sonance stand.
Hello, Simon.
So yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for roping me into this.
That's all right.
Unexpectedly.
It's very informal, and just tell us what you've got on the Sonance stand today.
Well, a big part of our and Sonance's message is that design element of how are we actually selling audio, which I think has moved away a lot in distributed audio from the product specifics. And a big part of Sonance and our mantra in the UK is the design. What do you actually want it to look like? Which I know it kind of sounds very corny, but it does work. The first thing I very briefly want to touch on is the new Sonance app. It's been out about a year. This is designed to actually help you have these conversations if you maybe can't go to, if you have your own showroom. At Habitech we have a big automated demo of Sonance and design. This is really for when you're in front of that customer and you're trying to get the message across. So this is the app. This is an iOS offline app. Okay. So you can download online. We have a QR code that you sign up.
So we can go to the client's house, and because it's
Correct.
offline, we can show them quite easily.
All the app. It actually comes up now. It won't have it on here, but it will come up with your logo and your name.
Okay, nice.
So say presented by Simon Gregory, for example. So if we go into the residential page here, TV audio. Prime example, real big area of where people want to enhance their audio experience. This is to be in front of your customer. Maybe I'll swap around with you here. TV audio. Mr. and Mrs. Customer, we know your TVs have speakers. You've already told me that you want to enhance that sound. You could have something like a consumer-based soundbar. That one obviously looks like something quite similar. But you've got an 85-inch TV. Design's really important to you. You don't want to look like that. So maybe you could look at something like a custom width soundbar. I actually think this is a really good tool to then explain to your customers what the difference between that and that is. The one before, it's very simple.
It's a massive difference, isn't it?
This is passive.
What we find a lot of clients can't visualise. So this is an ideal tool.
Exactly.
As you're saying, going for something like that, which doesn't look particularly appealing.
And then you click that and they go, oh, that looks a lot better.
That.
How does that work?
Yeah.
And you go, oh, this has got a left speaker, center speaker, right speaker, I need an AVR, so on and so forth. So it's actually helping in more of the job. But they then focus on design. That looks good. Maybe there's a fireplace high up. You can use this. It's different speakers you can get, so it might go left and right with the TV instead. Or you can have something like in-ceiling speakers. So then it highlights the in-ceiling speakers. Obviously we know at that point that's a lesser cost option, but as an experience, we want that soundstage from the TV.
100%.
So, you could have them in the walls, or you could have them completely invisible, which means you can have something like a Samsung frame TV.
Now, we're finding that more and more popular now. So the client doesn't necessarily want to see the speakers, but still get the same quality.
Exactly that, and it's at that point where hopefully cost is out of the way, the performance is out of the way. What they're really going is, oh, I like the look of that. How does that work?
Yeah.
And then you're going into, oh, well, this is plastered in, it's got 15-year warranty. Then you can go into all the grubbins. But ultimately, we're now at this point where they're interested. And if that is X amount of £1,000 that doesn't work for them, well, maybe instead of going to that, what we might naturally off from a soundbar, we might actually end up at something like that.
Yeah.
So as a sales tool, for our customers and customers that support Sonance, they can pull this out and just kind of explore options and get customers to visualize what's possible with Sonance as a brand.
Fantastic.
And that kind of filters through. Sorry, this is such a big screen. Outdoor audio, very popular. We know there's that growth. Let's have a look.
We just need a bit of sun in the UK. I mean, we're in Barcelona at the moment, which is beautiful sunshine, 16 degrees in February, but it's a growing market, isn't it? 100%.
It's outdoor living space, especially with COVID. I think we all experienced what people wanted to do out there, outdoor kitchens and enhancing that space. It's still an important area. It's always been a big part of Sonance. The subsat systems, the Sonarays, you may remember them now, the garden series and patio series. But things like this people get, you guys get, the customers get. Yeah, you can have white Mariners on the wall. You could have them in black to maybe match the metal finish of the door. Or you could have something custom to fit in that space.
Oh, nice.
Again, people are going, oh, that looks good.
Yeah.
How does that work? Or you could have them all the way across. These could be real ones and these could be fake ones. It just gives you something to talk about, and all of a sudden you're offering them proper custom install. And that is very hard to sometimes get people to visualize, or if you're showing them a sheet with a number on it and going, you want outdoor audio everywhere and low volume everywhere? Yeah, it's X amount of thousand. It's like, whoa, what do I even get for that?
Yeah.
And this is about having that tool. If I just show you something on the product, I appreciate this isn't super cinema, but we can move on to that.
It's always a solution. We always need a solution in the CI industry. So
absolutely. New Sonance speakers, they have a range of performance. So these are the 6D, 62, 64, 66, so 6-inch in size, and then performance levels. The 8 has now got Quadratech technology from James Loudspeaker. Big thing about these, when you go to the 62s and above, the whole unit, the whole speaker actually pivots.
So would you use these predominantly for multi-room or home cinema, or both?
Yeah. We've got them in our cinema as an Atmos channel. You absolutely could use them. They're for distributed audio. They're for the right application, right? This part here, we had massive success with our invisibles, and one part of the invisibles is so successful is the dispersion, how you get 180 degree dispersion rather than a typical conal dispersion. If you were coming back on maybe a price element of invisibles, in-ceiling speakers might be the option.
Okay.
However, the compromise was yes in design, but it was also in performance. It was very directional, we know how it works. What they've actually introduced here is a waveguide. So the off-axis response now of even a standard in-ceiling speaker from Sonance is a much wider dispersion than it necessarily was. So,
which helps with RP22 from Cedia. So,
absolutely, guidelines, but also just general performance. You can actually get better responses now off this. So that's that. Different finishes. Sonance actually acquired.
That blends in so well, doesn't it? I mean, that is amazing.
Yeah, and again, we have these in finish boards available through Habitech. Where you can actually have these end clients. Obviously, at our showroom, we have an array of finishes. But the standard ceiling speakers alone now come in 3 options. Flush mount, which is a gypsum board. A trimless option. And then just a standard bezeled option, which is 50% thinner than the previous one.
Wow.
And this is actually now a rail color as well.
Yeah,
so for whatever reason you did want to do it backwards and match your scenes to the speakers, you can do. Sonance acquired James Loudspeaker a few years back. James is completely custom. Everything we do is a one-of-one product, and then it goes into the catalog. This is just a finish of some of their laser printing, hydro dipping, standard color matching, and you can see here, and this is where I really go in on that conversation at the showroom of what do you want the speakers to look like. All of a sudden,
how big the room is would depend on what size speakers and cutouts
absolutely,
you've got.
but you show people this 8-inch grill here who are spending X amount on their kitchen finishes, and it's all beautifully designed, lighting. All of a sudden they go, blimey, that is massive. I don't know if I do want that.
Yeah.
But you might need an 8-inch speaker because the room caters for a bigger speaker, wider dispersion. So what do we look at? And that's when we can then come into, well, what speaker works? All right?
Perfect. There's more.
And this is just the in-ceiling stuff. What they also have I missed it here? These, no, I can do it here. Now, this is a massive risk, because pushing it in
especially with one hand.
I know.
Rory, the first day at the show, Rory breaks a speaker.
Exactly. So Sonance didn't have this is a new range as of last year. The single stereos have just come into the range, but the standard in-ceiling speakers were released last year. Kind of changed their approach. One thing I personally had a lot of my customers, I like the kind of install speaker later approach. So that was a bit of feedback that came. Very simply, you get a frame, a proper sturdy frame. I don't know if that is, you can really see that. On the frame here you have this blue fin, blue entrance. On the speaker itself, you can see that blue fin.
Okay, yeah.
You can see the blue fin there. This is difficult. Thank you. On the speaker, you have 3 options here for the install. So, mount the frame, speaker cable gets attached.
So that going first fix.
Going first fix, exactly.
Off you go.
Mount the frame, the speaker cable gets attached, connects directly to the frame. Then on here you have 3 modes, and they all kind of have haptic feedback as well, by the way, so you can kind of feel which one it goes in. You have fully open mode, install mode, and fully locked. So you go to install mode, very simply, and this is the risk.
Here we go.
Grab my speaker, blue fin to blue fin, push it in, Done.
Simple as that. Easy.
The other part to
An installer's dream.
An installer's dream. The dogleg is also actually geared to the thread. One big thing about doglegs, when they snap, and then I get my wonky speaker in the ceiling. So actually, it's actually on the thread. There's a massive yellow sticker that comes on any Sonance speaker that says, "Do not use a drill."
Right. Oh wow.
It's literally 2 full screws, and you're fully locked in. And there's a breakaway leg on there as well, should it occur.
But it won't occur. So
exactly.
Would the dealer buy the whole speaker, or does that come with just the outer casing and then you buy the drive unit, or how does that work?
You can buy them you can buy them all as a complete package. So you buy the speaker, frame and grill. It's not very. We are just going to sell it as that.
Right. Okay.
But if you really wanted to, you can. We have all the SKUs set up, and Sonance we can order it where you can buy frame, speaker, and then grill if you really wanted.
So
but effectively, you'd buy that, take that out, put the grill.
Fair
on.
enough. So yeah, just time.
So that's it on kind of distributed audio.
Fantastic. So dealers want to find out a bit more about Sonance. Where do they go? Your website or the Sonance website?
Yeah, absolutely. You can go onto the Sonance website. I would really say reach out to your account manager at Habitech. That's where we can really introduce you to the sales tools, and of course our showroom. We are really, really lucky. We have an amazing automated demo. It's like lighting control, basically saying you wouldn't light a room like this and the room darkens and it just has one light on. Don't do audio like this, and so on and so forth.
Okay, Rory, you've just moved to another part of your excellent stand here. What's going on here?
So, part of the James loudspeaker offering is some of their custom subwoofer options. We know that in that media room, kind of typical soundbar sub setup, there's a lot of wants and need for those custom width soundbars. So the element of the TV looks great, but the subwoofer sometimes, where do we put that? And people want the bass. You need it with soundbars, especially with small drivers. You need someone. Where do we put it? So James and Sonance have a lot of options. Something I really personally like and we do quite well with is the power pipe subs.
Yeah.
So you can just see an example here of it in cabinetry, where you can have. They do a few different options. This is a band pass version. Something to note on these: that length is tuned. So, for example, if you wanted to put it in X space here and wanted the toe kick to come out here, so you need to cut it a certain size, you shouldn't.
Because please do not touch.
Exactly, because it's actually tuned for the sub. But you get these grid up. Here's a live example, right? So that is one of the EMB subwoofers. It's very much just like a cabinet subwoofer, like a letterbox at the bottom. And then over here we have a typical bandpass subwoofer. So this would go into the cabinetry, whether that be, within a TV cabinet, within cabinetry side of the room. The sub sits in, and then it gets ported out at the bottom. So as you look at the space, you have sub, but it's designed into the space, and all you see is that.
All you see is event, which I think is a great idea for like kitchens.
Absolutely.
Things like that, because obviously people want decent audio in a kitchen, but to get the bass is quite difficult. So yeah, you can have obviously the Sonance in-ceiling speakers, but always generally have a bit of bass and a large sound, really, and large.
Well, I'm
large
glad
room.
you said that, because at our showroom, a part of our demonstration, we actually have that hidden bass, and that is in the kitchen island. We have one of the letterbox subs, and with every James product, you get a CNC template to work with joiners. And
it's like we planned that.
I know. And within that, you can see the grills, and then we have it in a couple of media rooms. And again, it's just that message of when you're exploring these options with clients, the conversation very much leads back to, with a brand like this, the conversation really focuses around, what do you want it to look like? It's still, it's a space that you want to enjoy. You want subs. Do you want a big black box in the room? You want speakers. Do you want big speakers on the wall, so on and so forth?
It's not the most attractive thing, but sometimes it's a solution. But something like this is also a necessity, because you don't want to see the sub.
Exactly.
You want to hear the sub, but you don't want to see it. We were talking about earlier about just doing heat maps. Is that something that can be incorporated with these subs in a kitchen or in any environment?
100%. Yep. So Sonance themselves and Geo in-house, we have our own Sonance design service, which is obviously kind of speaker heat mapping, and also on low level as well. it's probably more in the cinema design team that can kind of really ascertain where the subs are best placed. A lot of the kind of ease of act stuff is mainly for distributors. But 100%, you know, you guys know things like room EQ Wizard, you can look at certain frequencies where they're best, or crawl around the room. Whatever the old school people do.
Exactly.
But yeah, so this is just one element, and there are lots of different solutions for subs.
No, fantastic. All right, thanks for sharing this up with us. Right. Cheers. So Rory, we're now on the Invisible series from Sonance. Can you go through these?
So really successful Sonance Invisible series. Sonance, I think admittedly even themselves, kind of 4 or 5 plus years ago now, Invisibles are always great for the design element, but never necessarily sounded that good. They were a compromise on audio, but they were great on design. So there was a real opportunity to get some amazing sounding Invisibles, which, in my opinion, of course, Sonance are doing really well at. There's 3 in the range. You have the IS6, IS8 and IS10, 6, 8 and 10 inch woofers within them. And they are all designed to fit a 16 inch joist. There are pilot holes, all kind of drilled in for a typical joist. There's different narrow joist instructions on there for certain different ceilings. But the main thing is the low frequency that you get out of these. An IS6 is kind of a typical 45 hertz response that you get from a good in-ceiling speaker. When you move to the IS8s and the IS10s, you get the real benefit of a low frequency, which again, Invisible speakers have never really had. It would always have to have something along with it. They've done that with a technology that they call wave flex motion. And basically, they've just succeeded on having a completely flat panel speaker with their high frequencies. It's not a typical kind of exciter, but it's not a typical tweeter. It is kind of a metal-made tweeter mid-range driver for the high frequencies. Down to about 700 hertz, 350 hertz, sorry, and then below that you get this woofer. And as you reach the IS10, you can start reaching frequencies. It's always a risk to mention in the spec sheet.
So in-ceiling speakers
of about 35 hertz.
Yeah, okay.
So it's really strong. Again, it's one of those where the app is great, and you can see here it working on the Invisibles. We all know that Invisibles are one of those, unless they just don't want to see it. If you want to sell them on that audio, it's hearing them. And that's where, Sonance has been really successful, in our show in the UK. When you hear them, it's like, wow, they're actually a lot better than that. Yes, I can't see them, but they actually give me so much more performance than my in-ceiling speaker, unless you go to a real super high-end in-ceiling speaker.
So ideal for multi-room applications, but can these be used in cinemas as well?
Yep, so at Habitech we have a 5.2.2 completely invisible media room. So we've got Samsung frame, smiley face LCR. We then also have an LCR in the ceiling we can switch between, because sometimes people don't have the space in the wall to actually utilise any speakers, let alone Invisibles. One thing to note about these is the dispersion. So what you also get over standard in-ceiling speakers is you get 170 degree dispersion. So whereas you might say, oh, well, in this massive space you need 4 pairs of 6-inch speakers, actually with the Invisibles, again using the heat map service, because you get a much wider dispersion, it can actually cover larger spaces. And the other thing about that is for areas where these are actually really popular, kitchens, swimming pools, really beautifully designed spaces, actually they're not bouncing off the hard surfaces that are typically in those areas.
Swimming pools are notorious difficult rooms to do,
horrible.
So ideal for that, I would assume.
Absolutely. The big thing about Invisibles as well is the scare factor. Every end user that comes into your showroom, they love it, but they're petrified of it.
It's the unknown, I think, is
absolutely. Well, when
in this industry. Yeah,
100%.
What happens if it goes wrong? Everybody asks always that question.
Yeah.
But,
so, 15-year warranty,
wow.
which on our side, in our industry is it's not common. They have these thermal plugs built into the speaker, so if you're going to blow a speaker if you're under or overdrive it, right? If it is not getting enough or too much power, it will simply kind of gel fill and cut off. If that's happening, go to site, check the speaker, check the cable, check the amplifier. If it isn't of those two, and by fault this is faulty, manufacturer faulty, then we, and tied in with Sonance, will actually cover the costs of the replacement per speaker, excluding the speaker.
Wow,
so you can kind of have the confidence with the customer to say, It's right for the space. You want it. I appreciate you're scared about certain factors. It's a really long warranty, and if anything does go wrong, rest assured it'll be covered.
Don't be scared. Just give them the confidence to the members of the Home Cinema Alliance. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it on the Invisibles.
Fantastic. Thanks, Rory. Thanks for your time.